Hi, today we're going to talk about what goes into kibble. Kibble is still what the majority of dog owners are feeding their dogs. The good news is that over the last few years we've seen a real shift towards feeding dogs whole foods and being more health conscious for our pups. We have learnt for ourselves a lot about health and nutrition, what we should and shouldn't eat, and that is less processed foods and more whole foods. And we've realised that the same is true for our dogs. However, we thought it was really important for you to also understand what actually goes into kibble and why we don't feed kibble for our dogs or recommend that people do. I could spend an hour talking about this, but I'm going to condense it down to a few key points of what I think it's interesting for you to know about. So you might have heard me talk about companies that own pet food brands previously. These brands are often larger brands that own human food brands in their group of companies. And it's really important to understand, why would a human food brand want to own a pet food brand in their group of companies? The reality is that these human food brands create a lot of food wastage in their processes, particularly when they're making the human food. So what ends up happening is they make the human food, they have leftovers, they don't want to throw it out because it costs money, and so they take those leftovers, unedible ingredients that they discarded from the human food brand, and they make dog food with those unedible parts. So what does that mean and why is it important? It means that when a label states beef or chicken or any other protein, it doesn't necessarily mean it's quality meat that is actually supporting a dog's health and energy needs. It's the leftovers that none of us would eat or choose to feed our dogs. And I'll talk more about this in a moment. These brands also put a lot of carbohydrates in their meals. And firstly, kibble cannot be made without carbohydrates. It needs it to keep all the ingredients together to process the dry kibble, the dry biscuits. However, more importantly, dogs don't actually need carbs in their diet. It's not harmful for them, but it doesn't add any nutritional value. It's just really a cheap way to bulk up the calories. The reason why this is important is that our energy and the energy of dogs is derived not from carbohydrates, but from healthy fats. And we all eat, aside from taste, and we love food, but we all eat really to give us energy. So the other impact of carbohydrates in a dog's food is that actually we have seen a real increase in allergies caused by carbs. Wheat, corn and soy are actually considered the most prevalent allergens in pet food. So dogs need a natural diet, and corn, as an example, is not a natural food source for dogs. So something to be aware of. You may also watch out for grains that are used. These are even less nutritional, and if there are carbs in the food, you want to look for a more complex carbohydrate like sweet potato. So let's now talk about proteins. Dogs absolutely need protein in their meals. However, the quality of the protein is just as important, if not more important, than the quantity of the protein. We often hear people say to us that a dog has an illness and needs to eat less protein. And this is true for some illnesses, but what we often don't think about or account for is that it's often actually just the quality of the protein. And so if a dog has an illness and is eating very low quality protein, it's going to impact their health more than the quantity. So you want to really look for a high quality protein rather than the quantity in there. Dogs need to eat real meat, and I would go as far as to say that they should be eating higher quality meats than what we would find in a supermarket. Now, the reason why I raise this is because commercial pet food is often very, very poor quality protein. And the issue with this type of meat that is used is that it's never written on the label. In fact, claims of high quality meats are sometimes made, but in reality, not the case. So some examples of proteins used in commercial pet foods are byproducts, which are leftover animal parts from meat production, slaughterhouses, euthanized animals, rendering plants, sick, decayed, or inedible parts. Another example is meat meal, which is dried, rendered waste animal tissue, such as poor quality meats, horns, hair, hooves, hide, manure, and so on. It is rendered at a really high heat to make it edible, and then a cheap way to reflect a higher protein level. Other ingredients can actually be really toxic to our pets. So onions, for example, should not be in a dog's diet. And very recently, we actually saw a recall of a pet food brand, which was the cause of 110 dogs dying and over 210 dogs that were getting sick due to aflatoxin poisoning. These toxins can grow on corn and other grains, and as we saw, can cause illness and death. There are also a list of chemicals added to your dog's food, generally the long list of ingredients that you can't pronounce and you don't know what they mean. They are generally synthetic vitamins, preservatives, and additives and other chemicals. Sometimes these chemicals are used to balance and improve a food quality, but other times it's because the food quality is so poor that the chemicals are needed. So bottom line, dogs need real ingredients in their food, and be cautious with the brand that you purchase. Look at the ingredients that are listed and the quality of those ingredients. The commercial pet food brands will not tell you the type of meats in their foods, but what most people don't know is you can call those commercial pet food brands and you can ask them what parts of meat is used and about the quality of their ingredients. So make sure you do that. We know we all love our fur babies, and so take that time and really get to understand what's in your dog food. You can also switch to whole foods such as Puppy Gang Fresh Foods. However, once again, ask those questions. You don't want mechanically separated meats in your dog food, even from a Whole Foods brand. You want to make sure you're getting high quality real meats for your dog. If you've got any questions, please email us info@puppygangfreshfoods.com, or you can find out more information on our website, puppygangfreshfoods.com.